After the protest in Lagos last month, we also had another protest end of April in Abuja, which was heavily attacked by the police. It was a protest of ASUP and COASU, a joint protest. But since then, there were indications that maybe the government will be able to do what is right this time around. But now, after waiting several weeks, this is the end of May. It's very obvious right now that the federal government has continued in the same position of denial. They do not feel that Polytechnic and College of Education issues that are very important for a government, to quickly resolve. And that is why we are again outside today. We are aware that a meeting held in Abuja yesterday, a meeting of the House Committee on Education alongside with the two unions as well as the Supervising Minister of Education. We would like to say that up to now, we have not had the report of that meeting. But if the indications we are getting are very clear, it is obvious that the federal government is not yet ready to do what is needful in addressing the needs of the Polytechnic sector as well as the College of Education sector. And that's why students are on the street again today to demand that the federal government takes up this issue, resolve and meet their demands so that the schools can be opened. We are making the point today that at this period when there is an onslaught of the Boko Haram insurgency against the Nigerian state, against the Nigerian public education system, that's the same time when the government should ensure that there is more funding to education. We believe that the only effective antidote to the Boko Haram insurgency is making education free and accessible to all. And that means that the issues that the ASUP and COASU are raising are issues that are strategic in ensuring that our youth have a future. And if they have a future, they are not going to become insurgents, they are not going to become terrorists. Students have stayed at home for over 10 months.
The Ministry of Education, sorry to cut you, has said that they have met some of the demands of the lecturers. But does it not look like you are taking side with your lecturers if you will not ask them to go back to the classrooms while they continue negotiations?
We take side. And why do we take side? We realize that in a battle of this character, you can only have your friends among those who are oppressed. The ASUP and COASU members have been making demands over the past 4-5 years. Actually, what they're asking the government to do is to implement an agreement signed with the government in 2009. And those issues that are contained in the agreement, if you look at them very well, they are issues that if implemented, students of Polytechnics and College of Education will benefit from. For instance, ASUP is saying that there should be no discrimination between HND and BSc. Every Polytechnic student knows that if the discrimination against HND is not resolved, their chances in labor markets will be heavily reduced. There is so much discrimination against Polytechnic graduates. And of course, if you look at the situation in the teaching sector, you realize that the teachers are worse off today, which is why students have found it necessary to support the demands of their lecturers.
It is not going to be the Nigerian police or the Nigerian army that they will use to intimidate us. Because the reality is that the Nigerian police and the Nigerian army, they are actually our parents and our guardians. Where are the children of the so-called neo-fascist person in government? They have actually taken their own children out of the country. But you come to think of it, the children of the police, the children of the poor, the children of the downtrodden children of the masses are actually those that has been kept outrightly away out of the Nigerian Polytechnic and Colleges of Education campuses for over 11 months now. By next month, it will be exactly a year. And you see the symbolism of this mass movement, the mass action. It is actually going to be spontaneous. We are not going to be retired. In fact, we are actually battle ready this time around.
You are making this agitation on behalf of your lecturers. But the question is, most of the people will say are students. Where are the lecturers?
The protest today is a protest of students who are aggrieved by their long stay at home. And they're asking the federal government that idle hands is the devil's workshop. If the youth of this country stay at home for over 10 months, and then you are saying that there's Boko Haram insurgency in the northeast, the reality is that those who have stayed at home for 10 months without nothing to do, what do you expect them to become? Don't you know that you are creating the condition for more brutal and deadly forms of insurgency in the future? So this protest is a protest of students of the Colleges of Education as well as the Polytechnics to demand that they are tired of staying at home, to ask the federal government to do what is needful, meet the demands, and ensure that the schools are reopened as soon as possible.
We are not in any way convinced that there is no money for government to fund education. In as small government can make a reservation out of budget to make 7 billion available for confab, and as well make about 40 million for ASU when there is no budgetary allocation yet. Definitely there is no need for us to be convinced that there is no money or fund for education sector. As such, the missing money in the oil sector is not Nigerian fund. So where are this money going to? If Mr. President can be moving from state to state and mobilizing people to come and welcome in on ovation on campaign, is it not your resources? So what is now the conviction that there is no fund to fund our education? That is a capital no. I just want you to believe that this very strike, Nigerian students has critically looked into it, and we have discovered there's a deliberate attempt by the federal government to scatter the future of the youth in order to destabilize them, to take over the control of leadership in the nearest future, so they can continue to dominate the power until when they like to leave. This is not an excuse. ASUP and COASU has been on strike for more than 10 months and 5 months respectively, and government are doing nothing. If you look at it, the major interest of Nigerian students in this strike is the dichotomy and the good funding of education, which is our own primary priority. And you can see government has raised several committees, which does not even come with transparency. Take for instance the committee raised by the federal government, interministerial committee that is to look into the dichotomy between HND and BS certificate. It is considered by only university graduates. No Polytechnic graduate was involved, no Polytechnic student was involved. How can we be assured that this committee will do just exactly what they are demanded to do? And that is why they have failed. They were given 3 weeks mandate to report back to the government. Now, yesterday make it 3 weeks, they are yet to submit their report. That shows that they will fail. We are only imploring government to look at the abandoned report of 2006, where paper has been raised, where they said HND and BSc is equivalent. And the Civil Service Commission should also look into it and give them their befitting entrance requirement. Government should not in any way politicize education. Education is the only tool they can give to the citizens if they don't want this country to destabilize. As such, we are calling on Mr. President to fully take control of intervention of this crisis. Mr. Minister of Education is very weak. He cannot do it. That is why he was unable to resolve ASU strike. President took over the issue by himself. Let him take over complete charge to resolve this ASU strike. If not, we will continue to be on the street. And as such, if this thing does not stop in the next 2 weeks, I can promise Nigerians will still go to Abuja to take over the airport, the Nnamdi Azikiwe airport in Lagos, in Abuja. We are going to take it up. And such, we are going to remain there until our campuses are open.
Because we have facts on ground to prove that there are enough resources. We understand that about 40% of Nigerian income goes into the pockets of the so-called politicians, which means if 50% of that 4% is put into education and infrastructure, we will have a better country and a better nation. But the fact remains that the government is insensitive because they are fueling insurgency, they are corrupt leaders, and they support insurgency. And that's why they want to create more illiterates, more poverty impoverished nation, more criminals, so that Nigeria will not be stable, so that the people will not learn, so that if you want to learn, you have your fellow youth that will kill you during your course of learning. They know what they are doing. They want to remain at the top, and that's the reason why they are putting their deaf ear to what we are saying.
It's not democracy at all. But when you talk of a real democracy, it means that the voice of the people will be respected. Even lecturers in the country are demanding 40 for 10 months, and the government that is supposedly elected by the people is not meeting those demands. What kind of government is that? That's even worse than a dictatorship. Remember, after the protest held in Abuja, on I've forgotten the date, April 28th or thereabout, which was heavily attacked by the police in Abuja, the academic staff of the university issued a statement condemning the attack on ASUP and COASU members and demanding that the government should do what is needful and meet the demands of those people. What that means is that you are beginning to have a situation of unity that cut across the Polytechnic, College of Education, and the university subsector. And that is very vital in defeating the discrimination that the federal government and the ruling elite have introduced in the public education sector. But the reality is that there are many lecturers in the Polytechnics who are graduates of universities, and vice versa.
Finally, the ongoing confab is also having a representative of students at the confab. Do you feel the Polytechnic is being represented, especially as
those at the confab represent no one. Those at the confab does not represent anybody here. No student here is represented at the
But NANS is there. I mean, NANS President Badebo and several
others. The NANS Senate President is here at today's protest. He's not at the confab. Have you seen Yinka Badebo in the protest of Polytechnic students over the past 10 months to demand the reopening of their schools? So the reality is that we cannot be continuing to deceive ourselves. Those at the confab are there to share out of the national cake. Those of us on the street are demanding that our nation should be rescued from the charlatans who have taken it over. And that's why we are demanding that education should be given its proper due. Because the only reason why you have people take up arms against the state under the name of Boko Haram is because
There are a lot of youth in this country who have no jobs, who have no future. And on that basis, they can easily fall prey to those who have radical reactionary ideologies. And that's why we are having that situation in the Northeast. If you want to ensure that the nation grows, you want to ensure the future of our society, give education to the poor, give education to the downtrodden, and that's how the nation can grow. That's the point we have come to say here, and we hope that the government will listen. But this protest will not just stop today. It will continue until all the demands are met.
Well,